Hi, everybody. I'm Grace Stern. I am Virginia's Extension Master Gardener Program Coordinator, and I'm here with Megan Tierney from the York Pocosin BCE office. Megan will be presenting today on herbs and spices. This meeting is recorded and will be available afterwards. There are some handouts on the EMG intranet that are related to this, and some more might be posted after the session. So sit back, bring your notebook out, and get ready to learn all about herbs and spices with Megan.
All right. Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So you heard my name is Megan Tierney. I'm the York Pocosin Ag and Natural Resource Agent, and I specialize in horticulture. So I want to thank you for coming today and say good morning and let you know that we're about to go on an adventure into the hidden life of plants and how their defenses against disease and insects can help our immune system. And while I'm talking, I'm going to try to minimize these little boxes that keep popping up, covering the picture. Sorry about that. It's all the people in the waiting room. Okay. All right. So the natural world is full of elements that can lead to breakdown. And in our bodies, that breakdown is what we call dis-ease or disease. As humans, if we want to avoid this, we need to look at how we can use the resources around us to stay healthy and thriving. One of the most powerful tools we have is plants. They support our bodies and help protect us from falling into dis-ease. To be clear, I am not suggesting an entirely plant-based diet. There is one essential element or nutrient, B12, that plants can't provide, but is found naturally in meat. However, by increasing the variety and amount of plants in our diet, we can significantly strengthen our health and reduce the risk of disease. We're going to learn how that works. We're going to have 2 videos during this, 2 short videos. So plants are amazing in the way they can pull elements from the air and the soil and create chemicals to defend themselves against predation and disease. Let's watch a fun video describing this. The video is 8 minutes.
Plants play a number of important roles in any terrestrial ecosystem. Pigments in leaves capture energy from the sun. This energy is combined with carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water from the soil to make sugar through the process of photosynthesis. Elements such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are also taken up from the soil and made into different nutrients that are found in the plant tissues. Because they harvest energy from the sun and synthesize soil nutrients into useful forms, plants are called producers. Herbivores, animals who eat the plants, take the energy and nutrients in plant bodies and incorporate it into their own when they eat the plants. Likewise, carnivores, the animals that eat the herbivores, will eat them and incorporate the energy and nutrients that started with the plants into their bodies. Decomposers will eventually access the nutrients and some of the energy in the waste and dead parts of producers, herbivores, and carnivores. Materials are broken down into simple molecules that plants can take up again. The energy, however, is eventually returned to the environment as heat. This feeding relationship among organisms is called a food web. The action of herbivores does present a bit of a problem for plants. While small amounts of herbivory may be tolerable, larger amounts of herbivory with greater numbers of herbivores can potentially be a serious issue for the plant. Herbivory causes the plant to lose resources, previously fixed energy, and that can lead to reduced growth and reproduction. If the level of herbivory is severe enough, it can even lead to death of the plant. The question we have to ask is, how can plants protect themselves, and what defenses do they have against the constant threats that they face from herbivores? The answer to that question starts with recognizing that not all herbivores are the same. For example, insects have a variety of mouthparts that can attack different ways. Grasshoppers and beetles have chewing mandibles that can bite into leaves and stems. However, aphids have stylets that can pierce the plant's skin and drink its sap. Mammals are another major group of herbivores. Their large range of sizes and diversity of tearing and grinding teeth make them a serious threat for herbivory to many plant species. And of course, there are many other animals that implement a wide array of strategies for herbivory. Consequently, plants have evolved two general categories of defenses against herbivores. One is mechanical defenses. The second is chemical defenses. Mechanical defenses basically involve making the plant tougher, harder to eat. This can be done by thickening structures or making them stronger due to depositing reinforcements such as lignin inside of cell walls. Other plants can thicken an outer waxy layer called the cuticle that makes it difficult for smaller herbivores to bite through and get into the leaf. Of course, the masters of mechanical defenses are cacti. Their bodies are covered with highly modified leaves called spines, as well as other smaller, more painful prickles called glochids. Plants typically use modifications of hairs all over their body as a very effective defense against herbivory. Let's now take a look at the second group of defenses that plants use against herbivory. One of the amazing things about plants is that they're capable of synthesizing an astounding number of different chemical compounds as part of their normal metabolism. These chemical compounds are called phytochemicals, or secondary metabolites, because they're not directly involved in growth or reproduction. There are three categories of metabolites plants use. First are the nitrogen-containing compounds. Second are terpenoids. The final group of chemicals are phenolics. Each of these have their own unique characteristics and effects on herbivores. First are the nitrogen-containing compounds. There are several different types of chemicals in this group, such as the alkaloids, a particularly effective group that has a range of effects in the nervous system. Examples of alkaloids include caffeine in coffee, or morphine that comes from the opium poppy. Cyanogenic glycosides, such as amygdalin found in the seeds and fruits of the rose family, are another group of chemicals that lie inactive in the plant cell until an herbivore attacks and they are released and brought into action. Glucosinolates, such as sinigrin found in horseradish and many mustards, also affect the digestive tract but have a particularly strong effect on scent and taste. Next are the terpenoids. This is an extremely diverse group of chemicals that are also known as isoprenoids because they're all derivatives of a 5-carbon isoprene unit. They can be modified into a number of different chemicals through addition of different side groups and other modifications. Excellent examples are the many volatile oils that are produced by plants in the mint family. These volatile oils give the characteristic scent and flavor to plants such as mint, thyme, and oregano. Another example of a terpenoid is digitalin. It's produced by the common garden plant foxglove. It and similar chemicals can have an effect on an herbivore's cardiac system. Limonene is an aromatic terpenoid found in the rinds of many different citrus fruits. Pine trees produce resins that are a rich syrup full of terpenoids and different modifications of these chemicals. Likewise, the sap from rubber trees contains a sticky latex that is not only toxic, but like pine resin provides a sticky, gummy mechanical defense as well. These examples also provide a good reminder that while these chemicals are to deter herbivores, humans can find some very good uses for them. Last, but definitely not least, are the phenolics. These aromatic compounds contain a 6-carbon ring attached to and arranged with a variety of different chemical structures. Many have antimicrobial properties, which can be important defenses against plant pathogens. Others, such as the tannins and more complex flavonoids, have strong bitter flavors that can disrupt the function of many digestive enzymes. Examples of these are found in places such as the leaves and fruits of oaks and walnuts. Other phenolics are synthesized into lignin, that's the primary constituent of wood. This makes plant tissues harder to chew and digest, another example of the relationship between chemical and mechanical defenses. Likewise, limonene is a crystal that's found in grapefruit rinds. It gives it a very strong bitter flavor. Phenolics can also be used for allelopathy, which doesn't protect against herbivores, but can prevent the germination of seeds from other species, yet another type of defense for plants. So to summarize, as producers, plants are the fundamental source of energy and nutrition in an ecosystem food web. While this is necessary for the ecosystem to function, plants must defend themselves against herbivory to keep it from having lethal consequences not just for the plants, but to the entire ecosystem. Now, because herbivores differ in the ways they can attack and eat plants, they must employ a number of different adaptations that have evolved as strategies to defend against herbivory. These defenses fall into two big categories, mechanical and chemical defenses, although there's definitely overlap between them.
Okay, so now we know that plants are little chemists and use all kinds of weapons to defend themselves. So let's learn about how that can help us. So antibiotic and antimicrobial resistance is becoming a major global concern as we continue to rely on the same medicines to combat these diseases. The microorganisms causing them are evolving and becoming increasingly resistant. Over time, this can render our current treatments ineffective. Many of the medicines we use today were originally derived from chemical compounds found in plants. Some of the examples we already saw, like morphine in the poppy, aspirin from the black willow tree, chemotherapy, the first agents for that were actually developed from the yew tree. So while scientists often synthesize these compounds in labs to create medications, the synthetic versions can sometimes lose effectiveness over time. In contrast, using the entire natural compound as it exists in the plant can produce synergistic effects, where the combination of components works better together than individually. This natural synergy may enhance the effectiveness of treatments and help combat resistance more successfully. When we plant a garlic or an onion in the ground, why doesn't the underground part rot? If our hand was in the ground, we'd be in trouble over a long period of time. It's because these plants produce chemical compounds that protect them from the bacteria and fungi in the soil. Specifically, garlic and onions produce allicin, a powerful antioxidant and phytochemical, but only in response to damage or attack. That means we only get the benefits of allicin when the plant is freshly cut or crushed. The chemical compounds made by plants are known as phytochemicals or secondary metabolites, as we heard in the video. One important group of these compounds is called phenols. Phenols are often used as an indicator of the plant's potential to fight disease. When we consume whole plants, such as herbs, spices, fruits, and vegetables, we're getting these phytochemicals in their most complete and potent form. Now let's watch a short video, 4 minutes, that explores phytochemicals and the benefits they offer to our health.
Okay, antioxidants. So first of all, there are normal chemical processes in our body that, for example, allow us to obtain energy from food where unstable molecules are produced as a byproduct. And we call these free radicals or reactive oxygen species. They've been implicated in a whole host of chronic diseases like diseases of aging, cognitive decline, heart disease, eye disease. They can disrupt genes and they can lead to things like cancer. But these oxygen species also have some role in the body. So they signal to cells when there is inflammation in the body and when we need to mobilize our defense. So the aim of our system is to try and keep them at an optimum balance. And we do this with the use of antioxidants. They either remove the free radicals once they've been formed, or they prevent their formation in the first place. And they do this through a process of electron transfer that we don't need to talk about. There are thousands of different antioxidant molecules, but the ones you've probably heard of are vitamin C, E, and beta carotene. Lumping all these molecules into one big category known as antioxidants can be quite confusing because it's more than likely individual antioxidants have specific functions in our body that we can't substitute them for. So we need to get a selection of different antioxidants to have this effect on our body. We've seen lots of randomized controlled studies on high dose supplementation of vitamin C, E, and beta carotene, and unfortunately they've been quite disappointing in that they didn't have an effect on all-cause mortality. When we've seen observational studies And there's clear evidence that a diet that's rich in vitamins and minerals has a phenomenal impact on chronic disease and disease prevention. So what are we missing here? Either we haven't found the right combination of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to replicate this phenomena that we see in diet and chronic disease prevention, or we're missing something else. There are other molecules in the diets that have phenomenal impacts on our health. And this leads me nicely onto the subject of phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are basically chemical compounds that we find in plants. And there are thousands of them, and you've probably heard tons of different names for them, like phenolics, flavonoids, lignans, catechins, chlorophylls, isoflavones. They tend to have a role in plants like defense or cell signaling or cell membrane structure. And more importantly, in research, we're demonstrating how these beautiful chemicals in plants can have a role in human health as well. They potentially have roles in anti-cancer, improved cholesterol ratios, blood sugar regulation, cognition. I like to touch on the compounds as I go along and cook with them and just give you little tidbits of information. But if you did want extra information on individual compounds, I've attached the links below again so you can do your own research on them. The take home for this section is just be wary that phytochemicals exist and you can get them from plants, and you don't need to high dose supplement and all these other things. Just get it from your food because there are other benefits that we don't even know about yet. If you have any specific questions about conditions or medications that you're on and how diet may impact on that, I strongly recommend you go see your doctor. And if I happen to be that person, then come and speak to me. I hope I've given you a broader understanding of micronutrients, and now when you hear terms bounded around on videos, you can sort of understand where it fits into your diet. I really hope you like watching the video. That's micronutrition in a nutshell, excuse the pun. Subscribe to the channel.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If he didn't convince you, we'll keep working on it. Phytochemicals are natural compounds found in plants that play a crucial role in protecting both plants and indirectly human health. Although they are not classified as essential nutrients like vitamins or minerals, phytochemicals have been shown to support human life by offering protective, disease-fighting properties. In plants, phytochemicals act as a part of the immune system. They help defend against injury, insects, drought, excessive heat, ultraviolet radiation, and environmental toxins or pollutants in the air and soil. Science is just beginning to uncover the vital role that gut health plays in our overall well-being. What we do know is that the gut is a key player in the immune system. It contains a vast community of microorganisms, especially bacteria, that help us digest food and absorb essential nutrients. Without a healthy balance of these microorganisms, the body may struggle to absorb the vitamins and minerals it needs, even if we're eating plenty of food. This imbalance can lead to malnutrition and a weakened immune response. Diets high in sugar and processed foods can disrupt this microbial balance, creating an environment in the gut that is less supportive of immune function and overall health. So you'll get to look at a couple of handouts later. One of them is from Stanford University on phytochemicals. It's called The Cancer Fighters in the Food We Eat. It highlights the various chemical compounds found in differently colored plants. To get the most nutritional benefits from your meals, you want to aim to include 3 to 5 different colors on your plate. Now, if you can do that with every meal, that's great. But if you can at least get that once a day, that's a start. Don't forget, herbs and spices count too. Including a variety of colors ensures you're getting a wide range of phytochemicals to support overall health. The colors of herbs and spices. Herbs and spices are packed with some of the most powerful phytochemicals found in nature. Compounds we definitely don't want to miss out on. Take a look at the variety in front of you. How many different colors can you spot? Each color represents a unique group of phytochemicals with their own health benefits. The more colors you include, the broader the support for your body's immune system and overall health. Contrary to popular belief, herbs and spices don't have to be spicy or hot. There are so many out there that are mild in flavor. So, little disclaimer, This is not promoting vegetarian or vegan diets. The goal is to highlight the important role that plants play in supporting the human immune system and overall health. However, it's also important to note, especially for those foragers out there, only eat plants and plant parts that are clearly identified as safe and edible, especially those commonly used in cooking or purchased at the grocery store. Many plants have toxic or poisonous parts as a natural defense mechanism to prevent being eaten. A good example is the Prunus genus, the genus Prunus, as we saw in the video. It's under the rose family, which includes cherry, plum, peach, almond, and apricot. They contain cyanogenic glycosides in their bark, leaves, and seeds, which can turn into a known poison called cyanide in the animal and human gut. Why would a plant want this? The plant wants this because it wants us to eat the fruit and nothing else, so it can survive. The fruit is free of the chemical and attractive to animals and humans. Then it wants us to eliminate the seed somewhere away from the parent plant, so it does not compete for resources as it grows. Think kind of like getting the kids out of the house after graduation, so they deplete less of your resources. The compound also prevents bacteria and fungi from breaking down the seed before it can germinate. What a smart plan. Dried herbs and spices have a more concentrated flavor, but contain fewer essential oils compared to fresh herbs. When substituting fresh herbs with dried, you'll need to use a larger amount to achieve the same intensity of flavor. For the best results, using a combination of both fresh and dried herbs allows you to benefit from the potency and essential oils of each type. You'll also get a handout from Ohio State University that provides helpful tips on how to buy, store, and cook with fresh herbs. Don't worry about writing it down. Don't worry about looking at it right now. It's something you can look at later and enjoy. Additionally, there's a page summarizing key concepts from this presentation, along with some recipes to inspire your culinary exploration. So don't worry about writing down any recipes or any concepts because you'll get those in your handouts. Try adding a variety of culinary herbs to your diet to boost your intake of phytochemicals with minimum effort. When creating your plate, think of it as crafting a vibrant piece of art full of color, flavor, and life. One interesting but less widely known spice comes from the staghorn sumac tree. Now, this is nowhere related to poisonous sumac, so if that's the first thought that comes to mind when you hear sumac, start over. Our native sumacs are not poisonous like that. This sumac spice comes from the seed head and can be used to enhance flavor as a healthier alternative to sugar or salt. And it's only from the flower. We're not talking about the leaves, the bark, or any other parts. It can be a healthy alternative to sugar and salt. It's a natural taste that is acidic. It's actually used to make lemonade in the Mediterranean. And it's commonly used on many dishes. It enhances flavors like salt and sugar do, and can be used as a substitute or to lower the amounts of salt and sugar you use. So you use maybe a little tiny bit of salt and then add sumac after that, or sugar. Historic records also show that Native Americans used different species of sumac for healing purposes and as a natural dye, according to USDA and RCS. Sumac is rich in antioxidants, phytochemicals, and vitamin C, and it adds a beautiful color to your meal. So in the bottom picture, that's actually a jar on my counter that I have of it. I order sumac and then have it with me with all my other spices, and I add it to many of my dishes. Pestos can be an easy way to pep up your food with little effort. Chimichurris are another outstanding flavor. All these recipes are in your handout, so don't worry about writing them down. Pesto is made by blending a nut, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, a dash of salt and pepper, and lots of green leafy herbs like traditionally basil, but also cilantro can be used, parsley, or mint. You can also add fresh Parmesan cheese if you wish. Interestingly, mint pesto doesn't taste minty. Once the mint is crushed and blended, it loses its sharp kick. I think also the balance of the garlic helps calm it down. And it blends smoothly with the other ingredients. A combination of parsley and cilantro also makes a wonderful pesto. Chimichurri is made by blending olive oil, white vinegar, salt, cumin, a dash of spicy pepper like cayenne or red pepper flakes, black pepper, cilantro, oregano, and Italian parsley. It becomes a bright, herbaceous drizzle or dressing that's great on meats or vegetables. Other great sauces to explore include mojo sauces, which are citrusy and garlicky, which are great for meats and grilled vegetables. Harissa, which can be spicy, which is from North Africa. It's a chili paste. Romesco sauces with roasted red peppers and nut-based. They're nut-based. They're kind of a Spanish sauce. Each adds unique flavor and a boost of phytochemicals to your meal. Sauces can be made in excess and the extra refrigerated or frozen for future use. Boost your health by avoiding processed foods, cane or beet sugar, and add more whole, fresh, or cooked plants to your diet, remembering to utilize different colors. And I just wanted to show you my resources for this, and I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and let you have time for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. I would like for our participants to put their questions in the chat. If they've got questions for Megan about anything she presented on, or if you need some clarification about anything that you read in the materials ahead of time. So where do you order your sumac from? And I guess also, how do you know that it's a safe, reliable source?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that it's culinary approved, so that's edible version, all that good stuff. I order it on Amazon actually. I don't have the packet with me. I don't want to recommend one company over another. So we're going to kind of avoid that in the nature of VCE, just like we don't recommend one pesticide company over the other.
Fair enough. There's a question about garlic. The question is, are the chemical protections that garlic has related to it being underground? She said she's heard to crush it and then leave it for a few minutes before cooking with it. Is there anything to say that that is more effective than just peeling it and using it?
So in peeling and using it, you're not going to get that allicin release. When you crush it or cut it, you're actually going to get that allicin release, just like the tomato, excuse me, the onion, like you feel that. So it does add something.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're losing the other properties in the garlic. You're just losing that one particular chemical that helps it fight bacteria and fungus.
Yep. There's a question, are veggies that are cooked as good for you as they are when they're raw?
It really just depends on what you're talking about. Like a carrot, when it's cooked, releases different chemicals that can be very good for you, as well as a tomato. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And so really, no, cooked and raw can be good for you.
Yep. There's a question about if you are drying your herbs, how much of the herb's benefit is lost if you're using dried instead of fresh?
So in dried, you're going to lose some of the phytochemicals will be released, but you're still getting a lot of the properties in it. So it's also more potent because you're going to crush it down and make it smaller. So really, again, it's just adding dried and fresh. Use both when you can.
Yep, I do a lot of drying of my own stuff just because I have such a flourishing herb garden at home in the summer and the fall, and then in the winter, I have nothing. So I have lots of stuff drying right now. Do you can you talk a little bit more about processed food versus some of the foods that you've been talking about, and kind of compare and contrast. That for us was we've had some questions about like what's so bad about processed food.
Okay, so in order to process food, you have to have a shelf life. And to have a shelf life for that food, you're going to have to add certain chemicals to preserve it. And those aren't great for us. So that's the main point of why processed food is not good for you. It's also taken a long time to get where it is. So it's lost a lot of its life, a lot of its phytochemicals, things like that.
We talk about that with eggs actually. If you guys anybody has a poultry background, one of the first things that you learn in poultry judging in high school is that it's how long it takes for those eggs to get to the grocery store, legally the amount of time that those producers have to get those eggs to the store, and then there's an additional time frame of like best by date. And so one of the reasons that fresh eggs are taste so much better and are so much better for you is that they are fresher from the chicken. And there are some studies out there about what the chickens eat and how they live and stuff like that. But the number one contributing factor to like the quality of that product when you get it is how soon you get it, not what they ate or where they lived or what kind of chicken it was. If you have fresh eggs and you have store-bought eggs and you crack them on the same plate, you can see how recent they are by how the whites and yolks stand up versus laying very flat. The more stand-uppy they are, the fresher they are. So that's a common egg misconception from a poultry producer is that there are is that it matters a lot what you feed them. It matters a lot how fresh they are actually for your benefit. So yeah, fresh is super, super important. Uh, is it easy to identify sumac in the wild? There are some lookalikes, but there's a great, I'll find the link and I'll put it up. There's a great Tree of Heaven lookalike guide from Extension, and it has all the identifying characteristics of sumac in there, so you can tell sumac apart from Tree of Heaven. I'll find that. Any other advice that you have finding sumac in the wild and foraging in general, Megan?
For sumac, to identify it, you're going to see that puff in the fall that's going to be on top, and it gets like a very vibrant dark red color to it. And their fall coloring is outstanding. You can be driving down the highway and it's like fire. It's red and orange and it's just gorgeous. So you start identifying it. I was trying to talk VSU into doing a little sumac farm and maybe producing some here. A lot of it we're having to get from the Mediterranean. Why? Someone could have a farm of it here and it grows so easily here. So I think I missed the question on that. You were saying foraging. Other tips for that?
Yeah,
Um,
and I think I'm looking for a lookalike publication. I know we have one.
we
Um,
do. So foraging, you really need to be an expert, and even then you want to be careful. Plants can be very poisonous, as well as mushrooms. So on any of that, I recommend you go with something you've either grown yourself and you know exactly what it is, or you've gotten from a grocery store, so someone else grew it and knows what it is.
I found the pub, I put the link in the chat. So what's the best way to freeze pesto? Um,
Best way to
if you don't
freeze pesto.
if you
Okay.
don't have an answer, I have an answer.
Okay. Well, I mean, actually, it freezes pretty well. I've done it myself. I don't put cheese in it though. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I don't put cheeses in it and I just freeze it in the freezer and it's great. It's not quite as flavorful when you reuse it as fresh. I mean, nothing ever is, right? There's also things you can do like blanch. I learned this from one of my master gardeners. Ah, lovely master gardener. You can blanch basil to keep its color if you just want to freeze basil in itself. So you're basically just dropping it in hot water for a quick second and you're pulling it back out. And if you've ever cut up basil and given it like 20 minutes, it starts turning brown and losing its color and it just doesn't look great in your food. So that is one way you can do that. And you can put that in ice cube trays with like olive oil in it. And then you have the chopped up herbs, fresh herbs, in the cube, ready to be dumped in your soup with a little olive oil.
Yeah, and I do I have a couple of different pesto recipes, and I do the same thing that Megan suggested and use a variety of herbs. So my basil is flourishing right now, but earlier in the summer it's not. And so if I want basil throughout the year or earlier in the season, I can pull other, leafy greens and put them in there. Even, make that basil stretch a little bit farther by by adding some kale or something like that. And so to make it stretch a little farther and get some more benefits by having more than just basil in there. Additionally, I have a few different pesto recipes that I use, and one of them does not use a food processor, it uses a blender, and so you get it's more of a sauce recipe, and that freezes exceptionally well. And re it like thaws very well too. You do get that brown layer on the top, and you can reduce the amount of your jar that turns brown. I only freeze in plastic because I've had some glass shatter, but you can put a layer of plastic wrap on top before you put the lid onto that container, and it will reduce the amount of freezer burn or oxygen that gets into that container while it's being stored, and it'll kind of preserve the color too. Or blanching works really well. So that sauce one is the one I make and store the most of. And I do put cheese in it, and it does store just fine with the cheese in it in the freezer. Oh, lots and lots of questions.
Okay. So I did want to show you where basil, there's a box basil, little tiny basil. So you don't have to pull it off the stem. You can just break it off and throw it in your food. So if you're lazy sometimes and you just don't want to pick everything off, that's a good way to do it. We're growing it hydroponically in our office because herbs are expensive. If you wanted to supplement at what you spend at the grocery store, herbs and spices can be expensive. So you can grow them year round inside. So it's a purple basil. We've got like a large unit that's homeowner and a small unit that we're testing out, and both work equally well for herbs. A little flat parsley, Italian flat parsley has a totally different flavor than curly parsley. So if you don't know it, that's someone to get to know, Italian flat parsley. Great.
I really like the growing stuff inside. And we have some other questions in the chat I'll get back to. I have trouble with my herbs inside, especially over the winter, and I think it's probably light related.
Absolutely.
Do you have any recommendations for us who are like, okay, for example, I have lemongrass in my garden right now, and it's very, very happy, but it's about to be very unhappy because of the winter. And I'd love to bring it inside and put it back out because it's now huge and I like to use it. Um, but I'm worried about the light, because I've not had some good success in my home. Do you have any tips or tricks for growing herbs indoors for us?
Yeah, actually, there's like clip-on LED lights. I have one here, but I can't grab it right this second, that come up and you can just put them right over it. They're grow lights, LED specifically, so they're very strong. You can get those, you can get the strips. So if you have something like that's close to the plant, you want it pretty close and you want to be able to move it as the plant grows. So getting something like that, it makes a big difference.
I think that would probably work. I put them in my best window and all my houseplants struggle. Um, so hydroponic growing, are the nutrients the same as growing in the soil? I'm assuming that Renee means are the nutrients that you get from the herbs the same as you would in the soil? I'm probably yes. What do you think, Megan?
So I think that would be a scientific article. We are adding only certain stuff to it depending on what you buy. So nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, stuff like that. So I would say there could be some things lacking. And so that would be a great scientific experiment to find out what's in it versus in hydroponic versus in the soil.
Yeah, I know that there's been some studies done with hemp and CBD, specifically when that market was really expanding, and hydroponic field and greenhouse grown. And what they found is that it's more about the stress for those specific chemicals. It's more about the stress that the plant experiences because that is a stress response. And so it's more about how much are they not getting enough water? Is it really hot? If they have a lot of insect pressure, and those kinds of things can actually increase the amount of stuff for labor for later. So we also had a question about amaranth. Um, uh, so the question from Linda is, do you know anything about amaranth? I have huge plants that are still not quite ready to harvest, but I'm anxious to do it. Have you ever harvested it or cooked it?
I have not yet. The cousin of it, quinoa, but not amaranth specifically.
Okay. I know that it's a food product. I just haven't played around with that.
Now I happen to be gluten-free. I'm allergic to wheat, so I have a lot of like different grains that I eat, but that is not one I've done yet. But I have looked that up and I've thought about that because there's a great book out there that's growing grains in your landscape and so that you can eat them, and it is listed in there, but I have not personally done it yet.
I would imagine that it does probably fine in Virginia, versus just because I'm thinking about all of our weedy species that are amaranth related. Um, we also had a question about um, back to pesto, alternative nut suggestions because pine nuts are too expensive. I
Mm-hmm.
do sunflower seeds or walnuts or whatever I have on hand. Or I'll do
Almonds are really
some,
easy. Yeah.
yeah, I'll do some pine nuts and then like some of the other stuff because I really like the pine nut flavor, but they're so expensive.
I actually prefer the almonds. Walnuts are really great too. Pecans kind of take over with their flavor a little, so if you really like pecans, you may like that, but I would test that out.
There's a great, I'll have to put a link on the website too. There's a great walnut sage pesto recipe that I use, especially if you eat a lot of chicken or pork. Those flavors go really well with that. And my sage plant is just it's ridiculous. I cut it, I give it away, I freeze it, it's very, very happy. So I make walnut sage pesto every year and freeze that and it works out really, really well. It's not as it's definitely chunkier than basil pesto, but it's good. Um, there are some questions about, oh, hemp seeds taste great in pesto too. I would believe that. Amaranth leaves can be used like most other greens, such as turnip greens, kale, and mustard. Um, I didn't know about the greens, but that's good. Is cracked pepper better nutritionally than ground black pepper?
Yes, actually, there's a lot of research on that. In fresh cracked pepper, you get a lot more from it than you do something that's been sitting a while and is not freshly cracked.
Yeah, it's a it tastes better too. It's just it's expensive too, and that's I mean that's part of it. We had
I-
another
They now
good.
have they now have like automatic crackers that you can buy that can be either charged or you can use a battery and just makes it so easy. You just push a button, it has a light under it, and so life can get a little easier. I know a lot of people have problems as they get older with that. I know my parents did. I got them one of those for
Yeah,
Christmas. They
arthritis
loved
and
it.
stuff. Yeah, I might have to get one for my dad because of that, the
Yeah.
arthritis. So, freeze drying herbs, and then I also have questions about freezing herbs, because again, like I have so much excess. Do you have any recommendations in general for storing herbs? This is the right time of year, right? We're all kind of trying to put everything up for winter. Do you have any advice or thoughts on different ways to preserve those things for later, whether it's freezing, freeze drying, drying, or I guess you could can, um, depending on if there's anything recommended for that, I'd be a little nervous to can everything, but
Yeah, so one of the publications I gave you from Ohio State has information on how to store fresh herbs, freeze them, all the good stuff you can do with them. There's also a lot of good tips in here. So I'd say reference that. And then there's more information out there online that is great. Make sure it's EDU, it's coming from a university. So you
Yep,
can
and
just
if you
go
want to
in the
make sure,
search box and put how to store or freeze herbs, and then afterwards put EDU or EXT.
yep, that's what I was going to recommend. So if you want to make sure you're always getting really good information, especially when we're talking about um, herbs and things like that, there's a lot of information out there that is not backed by science, but you can put EDU or EXT in the search bar, and those will pull things from universities or from extension. And you no longer have to use those like professional Boolean operators where you like capitalize and put different punctuation in there for the search engine to know what you mean. You can just add the word and it'll pull it.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite recommendations. Um, so we had, oh my gosh, I'll scroll up and find it. There was a good question a little bit farther up about um uh are there any herbs or spices that might interfere with prescription medications, to your knowledge?
That is possible. That's always possible, just like with grapefruit. So you would just want to let your doctor know, hey, I'm on this medication. Do you know of any?
Yeah, and I also there's a lot of stuff where like during pregnancy they recommend like new herbal teas and staying away from things that we're not sure about. And a lot of times the recommendation is there's not enough information yet to know that it's safe. Because it just hasn't been studied. There's just so much to study. But we do know that chamomile is not recommended for women during pregnancy because it has blood pressure effects, and that's a concern, especially in the U.S. where preeclampsia risk is so high. And there are some concerns about lavender, either if you are pregnant and expecting a boy, or on like young boys, because that has an impact on hormone
Estrogen.
development and regulation in that. So, um, if you've got babies or grandbabies, and lavender's in like all of the baby everything, all the less less commercial or less the more like organic or like softer stuff for baby lotion stuff. It's like always lavender. Um, and who knows, you might use it and it irritates your child anyway. But lavender or chamomile are two that I know of. And there's
Cilantro is one to watch out if you are on insulin, because cilantro lowers your blood sugar. It's very good at it, actually, and that includes coriander. So if you're not and you want to lower your blood sugar, you can utilize that. But if you are on insulin, you have to be careful with it because you don't want to get out of balance.
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, we have a few more minutes. There's not anything more in the chat. Ooh, recommendation for pistachios and or peanuts, and it doesn't come out tasting like peanut butter. Um, peanuts, not peanut butter to pesto. Um, we I also really want to recommend from a garden planting standpoint, when you're planning your veggie garden, plan your herb garden too for putting your annuals in. Because I can't tell you the number of times that I've like seed started something and been like, oh man, I need basil, right? And then like go out and buy basil starts. So plan um, um, your herb garden, pick a variety, try some new stuff. And um, try culinary lavender if you haven't found a culinary lavender variety, especially if you like that flavor, and you can add lavender to lots of things, the tea and um, cakes and baked goods and stuff like that. It's good. So if you have similar taste buds to me, my husband thinks it tastes like soap, but um, we have. I think I have Oh my gosh, I hope I haven't missed any.
So coriander is the actual seed of cilantro, so they are the same plant. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yep, yep. I thought that might be one I missed. Okay, guys. Well, the the links and references that Megan has provided are on our website, on the webinar archive website. And if we pull up more to add, we'll add them there. I give Megan a big round of applause. This was fantastic, very informative. And all the handouts that she's given me are already on there if you want to go check and look. So fantastic information and great references. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.
Woohoo! All right, everybody. Bye.